That is the simple name of a book by my friend Brian Levesque. It was named Inc. Magazine's Book of the Year. The movement to strategically ask questions is now one of the hottest trends in sales and marketing, and the master Zig Ziglar laid the groundwork for it all. Zig said, "Questions are the answer." And he was right. The single most effective way to help other people get what they want is to ask them. It's also one of the most powerful ways to build trust with potential customers, especially those who have objections to buying whatever you're selling. The most significant thing you could do right now to multiply your impact and build trust quickly is to ask questions and listen well to other people so you can respond with sincere concern for them. You may think you know what someone wants or needs, but the pro never assumes. Ask first, then test, or follow up to verify understanding. Now, I'm excited to share with you a brilliant secret session from Zig Ziglar on the power of questions. In this masterful session, he shows how to use questions to make sales while also building high trust relationships. And he demonstrates the corner close. So get ready to take notes from the master. Are you ready? Here's Zig.
Chances are excellent that you've noticed something that virtually all professionals have in common. Every one of them are tastefully and conservatively dressed. The reason is very simple. Countless, and I do mean countless, psychological studies reveal that the appearance of the counselor, and that is what a professional salesperson is, has a direct bearing on whether or not the advice given is going to be followed. The second thing about professionals, whether they are doctors, lawyers, ministers, accountants, tax consultants, guidance counselors, architects, psychiatrists, or salespeople have in common is they ask a lot of questions. The reason is fairly obvious. The professional must identify your problem, your need, or desire. They got to find out what you want and what you need before they can offer the solution. They also know that if they ask you the right question, you will often come up with the solution. That way it's your idea, so when it's your idea, your chances of enthusiastically following through are dramatically increased. For the professional salesperson, the advantages are obvious because it bears out the concept that you can have everything in life you want. In this case, more sales, if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. In this case, a solution to the problem, incidentally. The professional also directs the interview so that the prospect or person being counseled asks questions so that he, the expert, can give advice which is relevant to the prospect's needs and concerns. That's really what it's all about. In a nutshell, selling isn't just telling, it's asking. Now, I'm obviously not talking about the police interrogator or the prosecuting attorney approach, where they put you on the griddle. I'm talking about the counselor consultant, the helpful friend approach. Let me share with you a story out of my own sales background. And as I share this story, I want you to notice the number of questions that go back and forth. I also really want to encourage you to notice something, that when we reach a particular area of the questioning, this is where the salesperson's self-image is so important. A lot of people, because of a fear of rejection, or a fear they're going to offend somebody, or a fear they're going to miss that sale if they pursue a particular point, are a little bit weak when they start to nail down some of their points. In 1962, I was selling in the cookware business. I was in Columbia, South Carolina. Now, I've always believed in nest selling. By that, I simply mean I believe in selling in a small area. When I was in the life insurance business, I used to work in one large building or one very small town. I've always felt that if you drive long distances when you've got prospects right there, that what you should do when you get in the car for a long trip with 500,000 prospects next door is you ought to put on a chauffeur's hat, because that's really what you're doing. You're just driving around. Well, anyhow, the little town of St. Matthews, South Carolina, is about, at that time, about 25 miles from my back door where I lived in Columbia, South Carolina. And I got started in that area, and we put on the group demonstrations at night. In less than 6 months, I sold over $40,000 worth of cookware in that little bitty town. And those days, that was a powerful lot of cookware. I'll never forget one evening I had a demonstration, 7 couples. The next day, as I was making my calls, I sold the first 5, knocked on the door for the 6th one. I remember it well. A booming voice came forth. "Come on in, Mr. Ziegler." I walked in, and there stood this big fella. Obviously had been there the evening before with his wife. He was about 6 feet 6 or 7 inches tall, weighed over 300 pounds, but he was not fat. He was just a big man. As I walked in, he said, "Glad to see you. Me and you both know I ain't gonna buy no $400 set of pots, but it's good to see you." Well, now let me emphasize the point. That old boy had eaten food the night before in direct proportion to his size. I had bought that food, I had cooked that food, I had served that food. So his introduction to our interview wasn't exactly ideal as far as I was concerned. So when he said that, I kind of grinned and I said, "Well, no, sir. Now, I did not know it. You might have, but I didn't." He said, "Well, might as well be up front and tell you, I'm glad to talk to you because I understand that's part of the deal so the hostess can get her prize. But," he said, "I'm not about to buy no $400 set of pots." I kind of grinned. I said, "Well, Mr. Prospect, looks like you and I have lots in common." He said, "Oh, how's that?" And I said, "Well, you know, in my particular case, my wife spends our money and the neighbors take care of our business and all I have to do is work." Now, I said, "I don't know what your situation is as far as your wife is concerned, but I can tell you your neighbors are taking care of your business." "Oh," he said, "how's that?" Very jovial fella. And I said, "Well, you know, each place I've been to 5 of them. And in every case, after they had gotten their set of cookware, had to slip that one in, I said, they would all ask me, 'What did Mr. So-and-so do?' And I said, 'Well, I haven't seen him yet.' They'd say, 'Let me know what he does.' I finally asked one of them, 'Well, why does everybody want to know what this particular individual does?' And old boy laughed. He said, 'They probably told you I was the biggest tightwad in the county.' I said, 'Well, now, one of them did say something about first dollar.' But I said, I'm not sure I understood what he meant. He kind of laughed. He said, 'Me and you both know you know exactly what he meant.' I said, 'Yeah, I guess I did.' But I said, 'Isn't that amazing? You were born and raised right in this little area.' He said, 'Yep, never left 5 miles from here.' And I said, 'Isn't that amazing? You were born and raised right here, and nobody here really knows anything about you.' And he said, 'What are you talking about?' And I said, 'Well, I thought you said you were not going to get the cookware.' He said, 'I'm not.' I said, 'Isn't that amazing? You were raised around these people. None of them know you.' He said, 'Explain what you're saying.' I said, 'Well, Mr. Prospect, let me ask you a question. Last evening, were you sincere?' Don't ever ask anybody if they're telling you the truth. That's an insult. I said, 'Were you sincere last night when you said that you knew that your family could save at least $1 a day cooking in our set of cookware?' We made a big to-do about demonstrating the economy. He said, 'Mr. Ziegler, I'll tell you, big as my family is, I could save $2 a day.' He said, 'I got 4 boys and they're all bigger than I am, and they all eat more than I do, and you know how much I ate last night.' He said, 'I could save $2. I said, 'Well, $1 a day then would be very conservative, wouldn't it?' He said, 'It sure would.' I said, 'Then if I cut that dollar half in 2 instead of half a dollar a day, that would be ultra conservative, wouldn't it?' He said, 'Yes, it would.' Now notice this. Then I said to him, 'Well, if that set of cookware will save you 50 cents a day, that means it costs you 50 cents a day not to have it, doesn't it?' 'Well,' he said, 'I suppose you could say that.' I said, 'No, sir. What I say is not important. I'm talking about your money. So what do you say?' 'Well,' he said, 'I suppose I could say the same thing.' I said, 'No, sir. Now, we can take that "suppose" out, can't we?' He said, 'You're the most persistent guy I think I've ever seen.' I said, 'Well, I'm talking about your money.' He said, 'Okay, we'll take it out. Yes, I could save 50 cents a day.' Then I insisted that means it cost you 50 cents a day not to have that set of cookware. He said, 'Okay, point's made.' I said, 'Now, Mr. Prospect, what that really means is this. It means that every 2 days your wife will take $1 out of the family larder, and because she does not have this method of preparing the food and saving shrinkage and electricity and all of that, it means that she literally every 2 days will take $1 out of the family treasury and tear that $1 bill all to pieces. Every 2 days she will do that, and it really amounts to the fact that she'll just throw it away. Now, said Mr. Prospect, that's not so bad. I mean, from what your neighbors tell me, and please understand now I'm smiling when I'm saying this. According to what your neighbors say, $1's no big deal. They tell me these 1,100 acres of good fertile land under cultivation don't belong to you and the bank. They belong to you. This beautiful home does not belong to you and savings and loan, it belongs to you. But according to your neighbors, you sure do hate to see something happen to one of them dollars. But you know, that's not so bad until you realize that on that program, that every 40 days what will happen is that your wife will reach in and pull out a brand new $20 bill out of the family treasure. And she will literally, every 40 days, she will take that brand new $20 bill and she will literally tear it all to pieces and just throw it away. Now let me ask this audience a question. When I started to tear up that money, how many of you felt a little hitch in the pocketbook? Can I see your hand? How many of you, when I started to tear up the dollar bill, said, oh, he's not going to do it? And then when I started to tear up that $20 bill, you said, oh, he's not going to do that. I know he's not. How many of you kind of had those feelings? Some of you might have thought, well, it's a trick. He didn't really do it. I'm here to tell you it's not a trick. That's real money. It happened. Well, let me take you back to the scene in this man's living room. Notoriously conservative. When I tore that money up, cold sweat. Now, you understand, I'm assuming it is cold. I did not do a body check at that particular point. But cold sweat broke out on his forehead. And I asked him, I said, Mr. Prospect, what did you think when I tore up that dollar? He said, I thought you was crazy. I said, what did you think when I tore up a $20 bill? He said, didn't think a thing. He said, I knew you were. I said, Mr. Prospect, whose money was that? He said, I hope it's yours. I said, it is. And I said, yet you hated to see me tear up my money, didn't you? He said, I sure did. I said, Mr. Prospect, don't you feel even closer to that money, which is your very own? He said, what are you getting at? I said, Mr. Prospect, as I understand it, now, when you see me go to the board to write, that means that you need to have your talking pad out so that you can show your prospects what you are figuring on doing. I said to the prospect, I said, from what I was told last night, you've been married nearly 23 years. He said, yeah, it'll be 23 years in August or whenever. I said, well, I don't know how to multiply times 23, but I'm a whiz times 20. From what you have now told me today, you believe that you could save 50 cents a day by having our set of cookware, or it's cost you 50 cents a day not to have it. That's $182.50 a year. Now, since you've been married over those 20 years, I want to switch it back to $180 because I can multiply times 180 real easy. That means, Mr. Prospect, that in 20 years, you have already invested, paid is a better word for it, wasted maybe even, $3,600 not to have a set of our cookware. And now you tell me you want to invest $400 to have a set of the cookware. I said, Mr. Prospect, that's government thinking if I have ever seen it in my life. That's government thinking. But I said, that's not so bad because maybe you didn't know about this until now. But now you're saying to me, look, Mr. Ziegler, in the next 20 years, I'm going to spend another $3,600 in waste for a total of $7,200 not to have a set of the cookware, but no, I'm not going to give you $400 to own a set of the cookware. let me say it again. I'm smiling when I'm saying this. I said, now, Mr. Prospect, I hate to threaten anybody, but in your case, I'm going to make an exception. I'm going to ruin your reputation in this community if you don't buy a set of my cookware. And the reason is very simple. These people, your friends, they think you are conservative. But me and you both know that any time a man will spend $7,200 not to have a set of our cookware and won't give $400 to own a set of the cookware, he is not conservative, he is a wild-eyed liberal, for sure. It got awful quiet for a minute, and he said something, asked something that really impacted my sales career. He said, Mr. Ziegler, what could I tell my neighbors? Very significant. You see, people buy for two reasons, for themselves and for other people. They might say it doesn't make any difference what anybody else is doing. Don't you believe it in most cases? Now, why would he ask that question? And why must we include some logic and some facts for them to make their decisions on, simply so they can tell their friends, relatives, and neighbors why they bought it? You see, this man had assured everybody. He had told the hostess when she invited him, I'll come eat the man's food. I'm not going to buy no $400 set of pots. The night of the demonstration, he was late arriving. When he walked in, they got to kidding him. Hey, partner, I say you've come to buy that $400 set of pots. You know how good friends kid each other. He said, I ain't going to buy no $400 set of pots. I come to eat the man's food. Now he's asking, what can I tell my neighbors? He's painted himself in a corner. So many times, prospects do that. They paint themselves in a corner. They've told another salesman 6 months ago, if I ever buy the machine, I'll get it from you. They've even forgotten his name. Or in some cases, it might be another case where they're legitimately in the corner. If we can get them out, the sale is a foregone conclusion. I knew the sale was mine if I could get the man out of the corner. What will I tell my neighbors? I said, I'm going to give you some words to use, and if you'll do this, not only will your neighbors love you even more, but they will respect you even more. I'm going to go ahead and write this up. I'm going to mark it paid in full, because I know you're not going to fool around paying interest since you're a conservative individual. And we both kind of laughed when I said that. And I'm going to give you the receipt written right across the top, paid in full. And I'm going to suggest that you take this and go to see each one of your friends, and when you walk in, just wave the slip of paper. They'll recognize it because they've got one the same color. Now, I said, when you walk in, be prepared. They're going to razz you like you've never been razzed before. Just stand there and grin. Let them go ahead and do it. And when they do get through, here's what you need to tell them. You look at them and say, yes, I clearly said I wasn't going to get it. But when I made that statement, all I knew was the price. I had no idea what the benefits were. And when I realized it would be better for my family, that it would save my wife work, and for that matter, would save me some money. And when I realized that I could not let my own stubbornness stand in the way of doing something for my family, especially since I had the money, I bit my tongue and went ahead and bought it. And I said, Mr. Prospect, they'll love you more because it takes a big man to admit he made a premature decision.
Now that you know the secret, questions are the answer. It's time to take action. Asking questions lets people know that you care about what their needs are, and that helps build trust. You will see in your guidebook that we've compiled a list of key questions you should be asking before you start selling. If you haven't already, open up your guidebook and complete the exercises and record your key takeaway for this secret so you can start enjoying your sales success now.